Hello everyone, my name is Robin and I am the Tired Witch. Welcome to my channel. So no matter what walk of life you walk, that doesn't make sense. No matter who you are or what's going on in your life, I think it's fair to say that we could all use a little bit more money. And prosperity magic is something that I think I am quite good at. It's something I've been doing for a while, and I wouldn't say I perfected it. I don't think really in witchcraft there is a perfecting anything, but I do think it's something that is one of my strong suits. And I thought today we can make a prosperity oil together. I'm going to give you a step-by-step on how to do that, and then we're going to talk about how to dress candles appropriately with the oil. Now, prosperity oils and any kind of magical oil does not have to just be for dressing candles. You can anoint yourself with it as well, and you can include it into bath water. It's kind of up to you as to what you want to do with it. But this is how I use it. This is what I do. And I'm hoping that you will find as much success in it as I have found over the last forever. So let's get to it, shall we? Hello everyone, and welcome to my workspace. This is my sacred space. Welcome to it. I think this is the first time on YouTube I've ever shared it. It is a little bit messy, but let's be real, a well-lived in, well-used altar sometimes gets a little bit dirty, and I'd like to sit here and tell you that it is always perfect all the time, but that would be an absolute dishonest truth. Starting off, we are going to need to get ourselves a bottle. Now, I am using a dropper bottle because that is my preferred method for how I use prosperity oils and any anointing oils for that matter, but you can use a mason jar, I don't know, a recycled pickle jar. It's kind of up to you and what seems to suit you best. And just like we would do with any kind of magical workings to begin with, we are going to want to cleanse our oil. Now, I find it easiest to just take some incense and put my jar right over it, letting the smoke fill it up. And then doing the same with the dropper. We can kind of just suck in some of that smoke and then pop it in there. The same sort of thing if you suck it up. It maybe sounds a little bit silly, but it does capture the smoke inside of there. This, in my opinion, is super important because it just kind of cleanses any lingering energy that might be there that isn't going to go with the intention that we are looking for. And like I said, this round we are doing prosperity. So anything that might be hanging onto this bottle that is not going to fulfill that energy is what we are going with today. So this recipe is pretty simple. The first thing that we're going to use or need is going to be chamomile. As you can tell, chamomile is one of my most used herbs and therefore has this massive jar. I am getting close to the end here, so we're going to have to fill that up. But we are going to start this by just putting a couple of pieces in. Now, chamomile gets its name because it smells like apples. And if my memory serves correct, the name means ground apple or floor apple. And they have these sweet little buds in them, and I just drop a couple of buds in. Now, because we are doing prosperity magic, I like to follow the numerological kind of pattern of putting 7 of something in. So we will be putting 7 of these little buds in here at a time, if I can pick them up. And 7. Okay. And then we are going to follow the chamomile by adding tarragon. I don't remember who initially suggested tarragon to me for prosperity magic. This had to have been probably 8 years ago now at this point. I swear by tarragon now. It sounds so silly, but somebody suggested it to me for something. I think it was a bath that I was doing. And I was like, well, that sounds silly, but I'll give it a go. Never again will I doubt someone then they give me a personal suggestion. Tarragon, it is green, so that does follow the traditional kind of money magic correspondence. But in my personal practice, I have found it to be so useful for prosperity work, any kind of money drawing work. Now, because it is a loose leaf, we obviously cannot follow the numerological 7, and I'm making a huge mess here, but I just like to put a pinch in as much as I can get in as possible. I'm sure everyone at home watching is like, oh Lord, she is spilling it everywhere. Well, welcome to my channel. We are messy here. So after the tarragon, we're going to be adding peppermint. If you don't have peppermint, or, you know, keep it around, any kind of mint will do, but peppermint is my preferred. And it's the same sort of thing with the tarragon. We're just going to pop some in there. Oh, let's see if I can do this a little cleaner. I definitely can't. So welcome to my channel, everyone. Tired Witch is also a sloppy witch. Sometimes magic is messy. That's just the way it is. Like, if you were using a mason jar, this would probably be a lot easier to, you know, get it in the hole, as it were. But we're not. And that's why my altar sometimes gets dirty. But that is why God invented handheld vacuums. So the next ingredient is cinnamon. Now I'm using cinnamon chips because I find these to be much easier to handle in small jars like this. But if you're using a really large mason jar, there is no reason you can't use a whole stick of cinnamon or powdered cinnamon. But I do have a word of warning, which is that cinnamon is a hot herb. And by hot herb, that means when it goes onto your skin, especially when it's in oil or similar, it can burn. So when it is in an essential oil, or it is a loose herb like this that you're adding to oil to infuse with it, do make sure that you are diluting it with a carrier oil. We are going to be doing that today, but if you have any kind of skin sensitivities, I would recommend not adding this to a bath, and to wear gloves when you anoint a candle with it. Hot herbs are not fun when we have sensitive skin. So, oopsie. I'm just gonna put a little in here. Again, it's because it is not, solid pieces like the chamomile. We are not following the numerological correspondence with this, but it is something to consider. Now, the next few herbs are optional. If you have followed me on social media for a while, you would know that my primary focus when it comes to magic and the energies that I work with is death. So because of that, I always like to add a little bit of something that follows death into my workings. And one of the items that I use for that is myrrh. Myrrh has historically been used to prepare bodies in tombs, and while this is not going to be something that, something that you need to add, especially if you don't work with death, it is just something I always add because that is who I work with, and I like to keep that essence with every single magical working I do. Just my preferred option. You definitely don't have to. So for this, we're going to be putting some myrrh in, because although this is instructional, I am not a wasteful witch. And the final ingredient that is optional, loose herb ingredient, is saffron. Now, saffron typically, I have found, gets aligned with magic like love or attraction, but we are trying to attract financial success first and foremost. And secondly, saffron is incredibly expensive. It is like, per gram or whatever, it's so crazy expensive. And I have found that if you kind of do magic where you are already holding the energy in the space of, I have this money, I have this success, then you are more likely to have the outcome that you are looking for. So because saffron is so expensive, we are including something that already shows our success and our wealth into the prosperity oil. So that is why I include it. You don't need a lot. If I can get it out of here, I'm just going to put one little thread of saffron in there. So now that we have all of our loose herbs in here, we are going to add our carrier oil. Now for this, I typically use sweet almond oil. Sweet almond oil is an attraction oil when it comes to magic. If you are allergic to almond oil, please don't use this. Obviously, almond oil is my preferred, but just like anything in magic, we always have to make substitutions when it is necessary. And in times where we are literally allergic to the oil, please don't use it. That goes for all ingredients, actually, that are in here today. Don't use them if you're allergic. Please find a substitution. So what I do is I just get that in there. And I like to firstly make sure I leave enough space for the dropper bottle. But we also want to leave a little bit of space for essential oils. Now, essential oils are not required to make this. It is optional and it is my preferred, but just because it is my preferred does not mean that you need to do it. So we have this filled, I don't know if you can see it from up above, but we're going to fill it to about this line here if you're going to add essential oils. If you are not going to, then, just give yourself a little bit of space for air bubbles in there. And this is when the numerological correspondence comes back into play. So today I am using a cinnamon cassia oil. I hope I'm spelling or pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, we're doing our best. And we're using a wintergreen. Both of these I have found are incredibly successful when it comes to drawing in and attracting all things with money. If you've bought my book, you would have seen wintergreen come up in the luck oil as well. Wintergreen is just incredible, in my opinion, for drawing in financial success. So for each of these, we will be adding 7 drops. The cinnamon oil is very slow. Now, while these two scents together might not exactly smell incredible, that isn't our purpose here. Just like if you were making a magical candle, our focus and intention is not on it smelling good. You aren't trying to attract a mate with this, you're trying to attract financial abundance. And that is why we are adding these. It's not for the scent. Again, these are optional. The essential oils, you do not need to add them. If you are somebody who is sensitive to essential oils or similar, just skip them. It's okay. It's what I have found works best for me, but that might not work best for you. And your sensitivities are what's most important here. So we're going to give it a little shake. I know that I shook it already once before, but give it a shake again. And what is most important here is that you are going to let this sit on your altar for 7 days. Now, ideally, you would do this on a Thursday, as Thursdays correspond with prosperity and money magic. But I really believe that true magic can be done on any day. We are just furthering our correspondence based off of those days to further our intent. So for example, if you couldn't use some of the herbs or the oils that were included in this, then I would definitely make sure to be doing it on a Thursday, because that is furthering your intention, especially with substitutions. So yeah, we're going to set this on our altar for 7 days. If you did not put essential oils in it, you could put it in a windowsill and let the sun kind of infuse the herbs into the oil a little bit more. Alternatively, you can skip the essential oils in the beginning, put it on your windowsill, let it sit for 7 days, and then on the next Thursday, add your essential oils in. The reason we don't want to put a glass bottle like this with essential oils in it in the window is that it will break down the oils and make it less potent. So that is not what we are wanting to do. Ideally, you would be putting this in an amber jar of some kind, but for demonstration purposes, I always use clear glass jars so that way people can see what's inside. You don't need to use an amber jar, but again, going back to that breakdown with the sun, amber jars are preferred. All right, so now let's talk about how we would use this oil. As I suggested before, you can drop it into baths as a bath oil. Again, I would repeat that numerological correspondence that we talked about, 7 drops. You can wear it if you need to in a time that maybe you were going to be asking for a raise or something like that, or if you worked on commissions, this might be something that would be really good to wear on your person. But in my personal preferred, I use my prosperity oil in Candle Magic. So if we were going to do a small little chime candle, we might write on it and write runes to correspond, or we might draw sigils on here or similar. But what we would do is we would take our oil, and I like to put it into the palm of my hand, 7 drops. And I rub it into my hands, and then we're going to coat our candle with it. It's really important when you're dressing candles to not cover them in too much oil and to be too thick, because it is an oil and this is inflammatory. And if you coat it too much, what's going to end up happening is you're going to have a candle that is going to absolutely explode. Especially if you then go and take this and you coat it in herbs or similar to further that correspondence. It is just something that is going to create a fire hazard, and that is not what we are trying to do here. Now, the next kind of candle, and my personal preferred, although I will use chime candles, is a 7-day candle. If I were using this, I would be taking some sort of dabbing tool. Here I've got a pen. Obviously something like a toothpick might make more sense, but your girl doesn't have any toothpicks, and I'm not going to sit there and pretend I'm better than using a pen. I would do 7 holes at the top of this. And then again, I would put 7 drops. Now, I'm not going to do that today because I am saving this candle for something very specific and I'm not going to waste it. But I would put 7 holes in the top and 7 drops at the top. What you want to do is make sure that you evenly coat it, because you don't want to drown your candle in oil. That's another really important reason why we put the 7 holes, or any holes for that matter, in the tops of candles, because it will keep it from drowning your wick, and that is super important. Otherwise your candle might go out and you might think that's a sign, and it's not a sign. It's just a drowned wick. Now, as you can see, I've got it anointed on this candle, so I'm gonna use it. But for me, oils are something that I really believe in taking your spell work to the next level, as it were. I really truly believe that in my spell work, it has been something that has escalated my success rate, and is something I really feel strongly about. That being said, I appreciate you all coming along with me today while we made this prosperity oil. If you'd like, drop a comment below and let me know what kind of spell work you want to see next. I hope you all have a great day, and thanks for being here. Bye!